So, good afternoon to our Inspire Answers radio listeners. You're listening to Inspiring Talks with Ilam. This month in September, spring month, we're dealing with trauma on the Cape Flats so that we can change the narrative and kind of come out of our trauma and heal. So Nadia Tony Jacobs is a resident counselor at Balthorn Primary School of Qualifications, a consultant in social psychology, a mindful practitioner, and a senior counselor. So welcome to Inspire Elsis Radio, Nadia.
Hi there, Lam. Nice to be back again.
So this week we're dealing with toxic interpersonal relationships based on immediate social surroundings and your core belief systems. Um, it's kind of what you were saying about perception. That was the note that you made. Um, so like, what is your perception of your situation and how you deal with it? So regarding your immediate social surroundings, how might someone's family dynamics or relationships as you were nurtured and as you were brought up influence the type of friendships and romantic partnerships that you would seek out?
So I think that first of all, Ilam, we need to understand our needs, right? Our needs are split up into three different types of needs. We have our pseudo needs, we have our primary needs, and we have our meta needs. Pseudo needs is basically what you and I chatted about before, um, with regards to fashion and keeping up with the Jones. It makes you feel good if you have that new Chanel bag. So it is a want. Okay, it's a want. It leaves temporary satisfaction. Then we have our primary needs. Our primary needs is your basic rights to shelter, food, and education, water, air, and so on. And then we have the meta needs. Meta needs are based on your behaviors, your relationships, and fulfilling things like your truth, beauty, justice, etc. So with meta needs, we basically look at the interpersonal relationships, which is two or more people. Um, so interpersonal relationships is made up of your inner and outer social surroundings. Um, and your immediate dynamics, which plays a role in making choices. So, if we talk about a baby being born, for example, the baby is born into an immediate culture or religion, and the main social surroundings that creates a core belief system within every human being. Okay, so um, your immediate social surroundings would basically be your parents, whoever's living with you. Then we move on to your education, who you see every day, and interact with, and then of course your cousins and everybody else. So, and that's how it goes on. The family dynamics of, let's say, because we're dealing with trauma, if we live in a home where parents has toxic behavior. For example, if dad is beating mom on a regular basis, he's getting drugged up, or he's on alcohol, or he's without both, but he may have narcissistic tendencies, um, which is one of the biggest things with narcissists is they have no remorse. So they will adapt any type of personality, um, where they can beat somebody and then afterwards, or beat the mom afterwards. They will say, "Oh, I didn't mean to do this, that, and the other." um, here's a chocolate, or this is your favorite flowers. So here we need to understand that the child is, um, his behavior is in all probability going to copy what is presented by the parents. And that is where they eventually, as an adult, is going to choose their partner. So they're either going to be in a victim situation like mom, and mom most times says, um, if I leave, what's going to happen to my children? I don't have a job. I don't have security. I don't have any assets. So she is the victim. And if she does not choose to change that aspect, she teaches the child that it's okay to continue being a victim. With the dad, he is teaching his sons and daughters that it's okay to beat a woman, you know, and make an excuse for it, and then everything is fine. Buy her a bunch of flowers, and everything is fine thereafter. So we do definitely have a percentage of kids that when they grow up, they eventually end up choosing partners that mimics the same traits or behaviors.
Yes, and because that's your dominant experience, that is going to be your future experience unless you do something about it. So, okay, say
Yeah.
we're in this situation and somebody identifies now, okay, this is what's happening to me, and I'm in a toxic environment. And like some of us don't have a way to get out. There's a lot of poverty in South Africa and Cape Town, and we can't move. Like you were saying, like mom says, I can't leave my children behind. And like, say the child now realizes, okay, I am in a toxic situation. How do I set up boundaries? And how can I change my immediate setting that can kind of change my future so that I either don't end up being the victim slash perpetrator and I can be I can create a healthy future. So how do I set a boundary with people around me?
Okay. So first of all, you need to understand who you are. Okay. Because we can't just start anywhere. If you're just going to start, get up today and say, you know what, I'm going to set up boundaries, and you don't know what to do, then you're not going to reach your goal. So you first need to find out, who am I? Where do I want to be? And you need to be honest about it. Um, the choices that you make and the situation that you find yourself in is going to be the deciding factor on who you are and your upbringing. So that's very important. Who am I? Where do I want to be in 5 years' time from now? What type of relationships do I want to have impacting on my life? Then comes the big one. So the big one is, I now need to get rid of toxicity. What do I perceive as toxic? Um, who do I perceive that is toxic? And what type of relationships do I let go of because it's toxic? How do I let go of that? So, first of all, you need to, I tell my clients, make a little list, okay? We all have good and bad inside of us. We all know what's good and bad. Make a little list and look at yourself, mirror yourself.
Hmm.
Um, in Start setting, doing things like, if I don't do exercise, for example, Maybe I need to do something to uplift my body. Maybe I need to do something to uplift my mental capacity. Maybe I need to do something to uplift my emotional capacity. So then we go back to who am I? Then we set our goals. So we can, in essence, if we situated in an environment where there is a lot of fighting outside, then and we want to do exercise because we've got a lot of anger. I think I mentioned before what we can do for a boxing bag. So you can start boxing. Exercise can be done anyway. Um, you can lay your hands on some reading material. So reading inspiring stuff, things that's going to jack you up, not watching TV where there's like um, a soapy that is promoting sex and promoting violence. What things that can benefit you, something that is going to inspire you. Get a get up and go song. So what I mean by getting a get up and go song, um, when you wake up in the morning, what are you listening to? Um, or did you wake up to screaming? Did you wake up and you want to start screaming? What are you listening to? Because your sensory organs also plays a big factor here. What am I listening to? What am I tasting? What am I feeling? How am I feeling? There's something else as well called the love language. And a support system. What is my do I have a toxic system in my life or do I have a good support system? What do I deem and perceive as support? So these are all strategies that you can decide. And also, Ilham, we need to remember that each person differs from the other. One person is going to like exercise, the other person is not. So you need to find out, you know already what's toxic, and now you need to discover what do I need that is going to uplift me. So if you normally in between friends that smoke dagga, but you don't smoke dagga, you still need to move away from them. If you're the type of person that can't say no and everybody walks over you, then you need to understand that you are allowing it, you know. So these lots of little things. Get yourself little pieces of paper, put inspiring words on there, and stick it up on the fridge at the lights. So when you get up and you go to the light in the morning or at night, that little piece of paper is going to inspire you to do a little bit more. And it's all mindful techniques, you
Mhm.
know. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
these.
Nadia, I can really understand what you're talking about when it comes to feeding your mind because you create your own environment and you create your own mindset. You are in control of your mind. I think we go into automatic mode where things happen and we start feeling things, but you can change what you're feeling. You can change
Yeah.
what you're thinking. You can change, like if you're angry, you can change how you kind of go from anger to happiness. You are in control. And I think sometimes we forget because we get maybe caught up in our emotions. And
Mm.
we need to realize, like you're saying, what happens when you wake up in the morning? You can set the tone of the day. Even if you wake up miserable,
Absolutely.
you can change that. You can feel
Yeah.
it. And like we need to understand we need to know ourselves. And I think we're also always trying to figure out how to deal with the world outside, but we don't really make sure that we're okay every day of every moment. Like I think we need to check in on ourselves to kind of monitor ourselves because we also think everyone else must monitor us, but we are in control of ourselves. And this leads me into like core belief systems because you have to take responsibility for yourself. You have to
Absolutely.
love yourself. You're talking about the love languages, and we have to, as much as we want love and we deserve love, but we have to first love ourselves. So what are
Yes.
some common core beliefs that lead people to tolerate or stay in toxic relationships?
Ilham, just before I answer that, I just want to also, as a strategy to mindfulness, there is a simple technique that people can do, right? Mindfulness is the connection of mind, body, and soul. And if you are starting off, and I'm hoping that the listeners heed this, because if you are starting off and wanting to be more fulfilled, the best thing to do is when you wake up in the morning, go and sit outside, whether you're having a cup of coffee or cup of tea, and just close your eyes and taste that coffee and then decide what is it that I'm tasting? What is the coffee reminding me of? Um, how does my body feel? What is the sounds I'm hearing? So all the sensory organs, very, very, very important in mindfulness. Um, yeah, so just that little exercise. It's not about the cup of coffee. It's about the aspects and the emotions and the feelings that's happening inside your body that I'm talking about. Because like a cup of coffee, so does a beating or a rape or gangsterism have, have the same effect. It also works with all of those senses.
Mm.
So yeah, that's just that's where I started out with mindfulness, and it was the best thing that I could do for myself. Um, and you find your own kind of love through it, and you find your own kind of connections, and things change, and in that change you can measure your growth. You know, which is a huge part. Growth is a huge part of your core belief system.
Mm.
You
And I
know,
also think like breaking a bad habit is is the hardest thing to do, because like once you're in automatic mode, it's very difficult to break out of it. And that's
yeah.
also where journaling comes in, because we used to have this lady that used to be here also, and she always used to say like journaling is the number one thing to do, because not only you tracking your progress, but you're also monitoring yourself, and you can always look back and see how you have grown as a
Yeah.
person. Yeah. So why do we tolerate
So
toxic relationships?
I think because there are different things that especially women. I know I put it out there a lot. Women, many men go through it as well, but more so women and children. And I think a big part of this relates to our culture that we get born into. Sometimes our culture, sometimes religion, and I dare not use the the term indoctrination, but with many things it basically is. Okay. I know a lot of people will shoot me down for using that term, but at the end of the day, just like um, anger is sometimes forced upon us, and we eventually are led by that anger and that fear. And so, if your culture has taught you, mom or the women before you, that you have to be um, submissive to the extent of taking abuse, um, you're going to carry on believing that. Um, and it happens a lot in all religions and all cultures. You have to be submissive to your husband, but to what extent are we going to do that? So that's the one thing. And if you have a child that's a girl, you're going to teach her the same thing. You're going to teach her um, that that extent of being submissive is toxic. Being submissive is just um, a word for saying like, okay, how many times do you want to beat me? It's okay to beat me 10 times over. If we use the word submissive in a beautiful way, it means that two people that are married, two partners that are married, are submissive to each other, but not toxic, you know. Um, and the culture in some ways forces women to get married if they fall pregnant, because heaven forbid it's taboo to be raising a child in a single relationship. And so once again, you go into that cycle, starts up once again, and that is the actual essence of a core belief structure, a core belief system um, that is taught through generations, through culture, and through faith. Um, yeah, and that is basically my message through that. Um, and if I look at so many of the clients of mine that has that type of uh, a core belief system, the perception is based on that because of that belief system, you
Okay.
know, that they have to spin and take it.
So obviously,
Yeah.
beliefs is what someone has been taught over the years and it's been instilled in them. So this kind of
Mm.
affects your self-worth because you only accept what you think you are worth. So like if this applies to
Yeah.
everything, this applies to your um relationships at work, your relationships at home, your relationships everywhere. You only accept what you allow. So if you identify that, okay, look, yeah, I'm being treated unhealthily, how do you start to work on your self-worth? Because that's kind of
So,
exactly what you do. You deal with somebody's core belief systems and how to change it to a positive one.
yes. So, if it was a client with me and they were meeting with me for the first time, where I do debriefing and I get to discover who they are, their history, and how it impacts on their present life. And this between the first session and the second session, which is psychotherapy, we then get to understand exactly how the person's perception is of what they are going through and how they're going to create a timeline to get better. And this is where we look at um, how the person feels or thinks about themselves. And if we go back to abuse and uh, um, beatings and so on, they need to create a practice. Okay. And this is where once you start practicing mindfulness and you start practicing just like little things, it then starts creating um, your value system that you may have lost along the way. And once you start re-believing in the value system again, you start finding your self-worth because everything you have learned up to that point, um, you have to unlearn and relearn again. You have to unlearn the toxicity and you have to relearn the models and the values and all of those things to be able to recreate a self-worth for yourself. Um, toxicity strips you of your values, things like your dignity, your self-esteem. If we take a rape, um, your dignity isn't just bruised, it's ripped away from you. Um, and uh, your self-esteem goes, it just dwindles out there. Most women and men through rape find that they just have nothing left, and they are like that for a long time. And so the sooner they work on the values and morals, the sooner they find something to believe in again, and that is just it. Finding being able to believe in humanity again, because remember, all of this has just been forced away from them, you know. So yeah, it's a lot about and something our listeners can do is on Google, if they look for what is called the love language, you will find on the how to uplift yourself with words and do the same for your child. Okay. So we need to also understand we don't go through this alone. If we have children, they're going through it too. So creating the love language in our home is not just creating self-worth, but it's creating worthiness for your children as well. Um, Also moving away from simple words like how people likes to use the word fail. Okay? None of us are failures. We are in circumstances, but that doesn't make us failures. I like to look at it as challenges. So at school, I move away from the word fail, and I'll ask I'll tell my kids, okay, how are we going to challenge ourselves today?
Mm.
Right? So we're not stupid. Humans are not stupid. We were not born stupid. So we need to move away from that word. We can say silly. We can say, why did you make that choice? That's a silly choice. But we're not stupid. So moving away from negative words and creating words that are that's going to create positivity in our life.
Mm. Mm.
Um, yeah, yeah,
So,
basically.
I feel like what you were saying earlier about like waking up and kind of reflecting on your day, and it's kind of like a reset for yourself to change how you're feeling. Um,
Yeah.
I think daily habits is very important because that kind of sets you up for the day and kind of to monitor how you are feeling from day to day, especially if you went through a traumatic experience. But say somebody is now starting to change and they want to heal. Are there any exercises or techniques that you can give them to kind of heal and to change their core beliefs to a more positive one?
Think that just lends to unlearning and relearning. Also, the fact that I think it's important to have a support system in place whereby you can get professional help. I think one man's pain cannot be measured to another, and because we're all different, we manifest things differently. But if I were to choose anything for most of my clients, it would be to start a journal, first of all. Start a journal and just reflect every single day. You must reflect. And something that I do for myself, Ilam, I made a promise to myself many years ago that through reflection, I want to learn one thing every day. And that's what I do. And my knowledge has been built up because of it. And there is no better knowledge than life. If you take one thing out of every day and you have learned then you've planted a mustard seed. So, um, yeah, journaling and reflecting, make that a habit. If you have bad dreams, have a little booklet and write down your dreams, because whatever you're manifesting also comes out in the subconscious. So you're able to monitor that as well. Monitor your behavior. Look at, again, going back to what do I need to move forward. If you're feeling stuck, then obviously that must be an indication of something's wrong.
Hmm.
What, where am I? What do I need to look at? You know, and most importantly, you need to manifest changes through thoughts, actions, emotions. You are made up of all of those things, and also not judge yourself. You know, don't judge yourself with everything, because like some of our drug addicts, they'll go on a healing journey. Sometimes they fall back again, and that's a great part of a healing journey. And not the drugs, but the point of, um, you go back to what you know. If you have been in darkness for a long time and you're now living in the light, there may come a point where you fall back into the darkness and you start using the same things you did back then, 15 years ago, 10 years ago. So you need to acknowledge, okay, I've fallen into the bad part of it. Let me take 5 steps back. Look at myself. Okay, I'm unbalanced. So what am I going to do to move forward? I need to sit and breathe.
Hmm.
I'm just saying, as an example, I need to sit and breathe on a daily basis. I haven't done my breathing for a while, and then it's okay. I can take 1 step or 2 steps forward. I
No,
don't
dear,
need
we're
to
running
run.
out of time. Thank you so much for joining me on Inspire Altus Radio. Hey, ma'am, Nadia, we can talk all day, young. But I think the
Yeah,
main
I'm
thing
sorry.
is like we need to change our foundation so that like what you were
Yeah,
saying now, if we change our foundation, then our default setting won't be a negative one. And that is why we need to work on our
absolutely.
daily habits. And I think you're right, journaling. Please start to journal and like make sure that your habits become positive habits so that if anything happens,
Absolutely.
when if you go to a default, then the default is a positive thing. You can change your life, you
Yes.
can change your future, you can change your default, you can change your foundation. There's no such thing as you can't. You can.
Yeah.
Thank you so much,
Yes.
Nadia, and I will see you
You're
next week.
welcome.
Um,
See you.
thank you, Nadia. Bye.